What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Early Edge NFL Kickoff Show, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Will Brinson here, along with RJ White, Danny Brasco, and Ken's Brooks, aka Return of the Mac.
And Return of the Mac Tuesdays also. Shout out,
Speaking of Return of the Mac, I know that not everybody was here for Monday night's show.
I heard about
Let's go. Got me some diamond hands. We'll talk about it later in the show. Myself and Sia caught the first touchdown score, basically chalk with Rashad White, who was like 11-1. But whatever, it counts. RJ, long time no see. An extra 45 minutes with me on the mic. I'm sure you're thrilled.
Thursdays are my favorite days, Will. I'll tell you that.
Mine too, RJ. Mine too. Actually, Thursday might be my favorite day just because it's like we're about to get football for like 5 straight days. Danny, Kins, or Danny, what's up? Kins already got it.
Glorious game. The last matchup was a 41-38 overtime thriller, division rivalry. Cannot be excited for a third. Normally Thursday nights we get stinkers, right? Like some weird Jaguars, Browns, kind of awkward, clunky, or scoreagami type of game or weird stuff. This one should be another good one. I don't know if it'll go exactly like last time's thriller, but I'm excited to talk about this great matchup.
Yeah, Bengals at Ravens, massive game on tap. The Ravens are big favorites, 6-point favorites, maybe 5.5 with a 6-point favorites. 5.5 down to 5.5. So the Bengals getting a little steam. Bengals have gotten to 4-5 after their annual slow start. Ravens actually started 0-2 by gagging away to the Raiders in week 2, have since gotten to 6-3. We got a robust total here, 52.5. That's actually ticked down half a point, which is a little interesting because, I'm guessing that, as Danny sort of alluded to, that it's hard not to expect a shootout here, right? You have Lamar Jackson, the MVP favorite, as it stands to repeat, by the way, playing probably the best football of his career, just in terms of being a passer. They've added Deontay Johnson. We don't know how much he's going to be involved, but Rashad Bateman playing well. Zay Flowers really developing in his second year. And by the way, this guy named Derrick Henry, who is on pace for like 40,000 yards rushing this season. Also, they're getting Keaton Mitchell back. We'll talk about the inactives in a second. He is not on that list. And then you have the Bengals who, in the AFC, like, I don't know, RJ, it's obviously not a must win. They can come back from 4-6, but man, this would be a big win, not just for keeping them right there squarely in the playoff hunt, but also like kind of propelling them right to the division mix too.
Yeah, division will be tough with two teams ahead of them playing well. But we were looking at this AFC wild card race a couple weeks ago, and like, man, it's the Jets were playing poorly, but it was wide open for anyone because the Denver Broncos felt like a little bit of a paper tiger. The Colts definitely felt like a paper tiger, and so it's like you throw in the two teams in the AFC North, and really anyone else could make it. So 4-6 wouldn't put the Bengals out of it. I think there's a pretty good possibility we see a 9-8 team in the playoffs in the AFC. But, they definitely want to have it after coming so close in the last game against Baltimore and not getting there. So going to be a big game from both sides.
Let's talk about the side and total, Danny. What do you like in this game?
So it's going to take some bravery to make this bet, considering the last score total, 79 points. But I think there are some factors, actually, that if you want to stand in for, as they say, catch a falling knife here and bet Ravens under. I think there are reasons to bet the under 53 that I grabbed it at. Hey, the market ticked down half a point, perhaps for a reason. Left tackle for the Bengals, Orlando Brown, is out. I think that could be significant. If you don't have that, O-line protection, then you can't get started. And of course, T. Higgins not going to be playing in this game. T. Higgins, had great production against the Ravens in that last one. And without him and potential O-line issues, I don't know if the Bengals are going to do their part to hang up a number that contributes to this, this total. Also, Lamar Jackson did miss some practice time this week with some lingering knee and back injury issues. It's another short week here. I wouldn't be surprised if they went a lot more run heavy and just more conservative. Last game against the Bengals, he rushed 12 times for 55 yards. Of course, he put on a passing clinic. He had 350 plus yards, 4 pass TDs. But, a couple of those were to Isaiah Likely in the red zone short yardage area. His run game sets that up, the threat of that. So if he's not running as much, maybe we see a little bit different of game, maybe see the Bengals score less. And I think we actually see a suppressed total. So I'm playing under 53, and I'll have to, stand in front of that with my chest mighty and bravery all intact considering last game. But I like it, man.
I'm on the under 53 as well. And it's sort of like a contrarian play. This is not my style at all.
No, it's not.
It's really not. Like this game reeks of me being like, I love the over in the game. And like, look, I can tell you a story where it gets there pretty easily. It's Derrick Henry running the ball, explosive runs, Keaton Mitchell mixing a few explosive runs, Joe Burrow forced to drop back. The Ravens are a pass funnel. So like a Ravens blowout, unfortunately, kind of lends it. Like I don't think this is going to be a kick your feet up and relax on taking the under by any stretch of the imagination. Like I think it's probably you're going to sweat it. And I also think if you get a really low first half scoring game, it's not a bad spot to look for a middle if there's an opportunity there. Just because you could see this thing get wacky in the second half, and that wouldn't shock me at all. But I think it's a little high. Market agrees to a degree.
And I would also say, like, if you're going to bet props, like to your point, there will be offense in this game. I'm not saying it's going to be a stinker. Like these teams have so much firepower, but I do think the Ravens secondary, which has been vulnerable this year, has gotten a little bit of a bad rep. They're a little healthier now, and maybe again without T. Higgins, they can blanket Jamar Chase and prove that they're not just this leaky faucet that you can beat so easily. They got great names. Nate Wiggins is back. I was accidentally calling him Andrew Wiggins last week. And Marlon Humphrey, if he's just even a little healthy, just to be a leader there, I think they can continue to play a little better and improve what's been the weak unit of their their defense.
RJ, I know that you have a play on the side here. I'm curious, maybe explain why, but also I'm just curious what you think is such a sharp dressed and sharp dressed man and sharp better. What you think about the total as well?
Yeah, I can see it. I mean, it's a primetime game. Tend to go under historically the last few years, and there's a major total. So you see it. You also see these divisional rematches tend to go under typically. So you have a lot of stuff lining up for an under, I think. So I like that look from you guys. I think if there is one team that's scoring a bunch of points, it's the Ravens. That's why I'm going Ravens -6 for my pick. They won a close game in Cincy, like you said about Higgins. I mean, he scored twice and had 14 targets. I don't know where you're putting that. Gesicki's gotten some of that the last few weeks, but that's not going to, help you keep up with the Ravens. So it's going to be a lot of Jamar Chase, but we have also seen sometimes that Jamar Chase isn't necessarily a Justin Jefferson type that can, overcome double, triple coverage and just put up big games left and right. He has that in him any possible week. He also has a 40-yard, no touchdown, possibility in him every given week too. So I don't know where we're going to get from the Cincy passing game here, especially with the left tackle out, like Danny mentioned. Cincy's most recent step up in opponent resulted in a 20-point loss to the Eagles, and the Ravens are better than the Eagles. So I think that kind of game is on the table without Higgins available in this game like he was in that Eagles game. And the Baltimore offense, Keaton Mitchell back makes a more dynamic speed element if they mix him in the run game. Deontay Johnson, now his second game, probably going to be a little bit more involved. That makes him more dynamic as well. So I like those two guys there. And if BJ Hill, who is active, is limited at all, Derrick Henry's going to roll up the middle. So I think the Ravens are going to win this game by at least a touchdown. I like playing them at -6.
Yeah, and it's worth noting too that I remember a few weeks ago on our Thursday show ahead of Week 8, we both liked the Bengals laying 6 at home against the Eagles, and they got truck sticked. Their wins, the Bengals, their wins are still at Carolina, at the Giants, at the Browns, and that was with Deshaun Watson, I believe, and versus the Raiders. So they have beaten a bunch of bad teams. They lost to the Patriots, one score loss to the Chiefs and the Commanders, one score loss to the Ravens, and then got blown out by Philly. So, I mean, if you can paint different narratives for all of those wins and losses, but the reality is every time they played a team with a winning record, they've lost. And every time they played a team with a losing record, they've won. The Ravens have, of course, a winning record.
And 1-3 without Higgins. And that one win was against a really bad Raiders team last week, which didn't matter not having Higgins. So up against a good team, that matters.
Yeah, it is weird how like there's a Twitter cult, as Pete Prisco likes to say, of anti every quarterback. And like the Joe Burrow haters come out in mass anytime he doesn't win a game without T. Higgins. It's like, this guy didn't have 2 alphas. He's a loser. Kins, what does the model say about tonight's game?
The model thinks you guys are all losers for liking the under. Okay. Why wouldn't we have another shootout in this game. And I don't even want to refer to the first meetup, which obviously went soaring over, but this Bengals defense, like they've allowed a combined 61 points the last 2 weeks. This is an injured defense that we're talking about. And I'm high on the Ravens in general. I'm not so high on their defense all the time. And the reason that the Broncos only put up 10 points last week was because Bo Nix was making Bo Nix mistakes. And he was making mistakes that I do not think Joe Burrow will. And if it was Joe Burrow making those throws, I think we would have seen a lot more than 10 points on the board for the Broncos. So I like the trajectory of Joe Burrow right now. I like that they could probably find some holes in this Ravens secondary. You never really know what you're getting from them. And I also love the fact that Lamar Jackson, as we saw last week, is comfortable just hanging out in the pocket. If we talk about the injuries, Danny said he's not feeling his best. I don't think we see a ton of designed runs as much as we typically do from him. So I think this is a Zay Flowers game. Their best corner's out. Give me the points, guys.
I don't mind it at all. I mean, I think it looks like such a big number that people will probably be scared off of it. We've got some questions in the chat about particular moves with the spreads. We'll answer those. If you have player props or any type of touchdown props, drop those and we'll answer them in the specific segments that you were asking about. This is kind of a blend of it. Ravens -7, the under 52.5, and an Andrews anytime touchdown. I don't hate it. I've got some Mark Andrews anytime touchdown parlays. I think he's a pretty good. I think he's eligible for the. Is he over 10-1? He's over 10-1.
He is eligible. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler. I mean,
and Isaiah Likely is out for this game.
Yeah, no Isaiah Likely, and I mean, look, they use more. If you get down to the 5, you're gonna have to dodge 2 Derrick Henry runs. But maybe you get a play action look on one of those before. I think if I were going to go, if you're going to parlay the Ravens and the under, I mean, I would just toss on Derrick Henry anytime touchdown into that parlay too, because Derrick Henry is going to score if you get Ravens. It's like -220 or something, but I mean, it's at least like it's an extra leg to boost your parlay. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's like, I wouldn't play it outright. He's probably like +150 for any 2 touchdowns anytime. The other one I saw, let's see, Gipper's Picks. Shout out to Gipper's Picks, always in the chat. Neither team to score 30 plus is +150. RJ, I mean, wouldn't you be a little wary of this? Just because the Ravens could go out and drop, 35 and make it 35-17 pretty easy.
Yeah, and I think if you look at like alt unders, maybe you're finding a decent number anyway. That if you try to put 2 alt numbers together, I'm sure the parlay would be a lot bigger than +150, which tells you that the value you're getting in that bet is probably not great. I don't think neither team will hit 30, but I see that what the model's projecting there, and you could definitely see Baltimore getting there for sure. Yeah,
and I mean, like, you also have in this game, even without T. Higgins, you have, I'd say 3 superstars in Derrick Henry, Jamar Chase, and Lamar Jackson, and not just superstars, but guys who, like, every time they touch the ball, it can go to the distance. So that's one of the dangers of getting in front of this under. I skipped ahead, not on my fault. Do we have the inactives that we can take a peek at? Lovely. Oh, look at that. Lovely Photoshop work. T. Higgins, as we mentioned, out. Orlando Brown out. Kind of a big deal. And Tre'Davious White, recently acquired, is not going to play in this game. And Isaiah Likely
for the Ravens, he was doing terrible on the Rams. So they should be happy he's not playing for this first one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true. Although, now he doesn't have. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Brent Urban and Isaiah Likely both out as well. Anybody have anything on the inactives they want to jump in on?
Yeah, two names that aren't there that are interesting are Keaton Mitchell on the Ravens side, backup running back. Get a little bit maybe of lightning to Derrick Henry's thunder. And then backup running back on the other side, Khalil Herbert, right? Just acquired him, going to play for the Bengals, it looks like, on a short week. Last week, no backup running backs, I think, got any work. I think it was all Chase Brown all the time. But they're not going to – he's not going to hold up getting, all those carries. So you're going to want to mix somebody in. So be interesting to see what Khalil Herbert is capable of on a few days of practice.
Yeah. So real quickly on the Keaton Mitchell thing, I don't know if you guys saw Ian Rap Sheet tweeted out like a clip of him talking about Keaton Mitchell. And he seemed to, it was one of those that is like when you hear one of those guys, like the 3 or 4 insiders or whatever it is, say something that is like kind of veiled, but also like clearly informed, but doesn't want to specifically say what they were told. It was like people are going to know who Keaton Mitchell is by the end of the night. And it wasn't like a guess. Like, I think Keaton Mitchell's going to rip one off. It was like, they maybe have, and I don't know how many snaps he'll play. Basically, it seemed to me he was implying that Keaton Mitchell is much healthier than you might think a guy who is, is like, has the Q tag next to him on DFS and is coming off the PUP and suffered a gruesome injury last year. And that he might just, like, they might have this pack. I mean, he played at ECU. I watched him a lot. If you saw him last year, he is explosive. And like, if he get, like, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they have a couple just sort of designed explosive plays, whether they're screens or like some Texas routes, or whether it's just like draws or even like an option thing with Lamar Jackson. And Rapsheed also mentioned that the Ravens want to reduce the wear and tear on Derrick Henry. Well, Keaton Mitchell's your guy for that. So I don't know. I thought that was interesting. I don't want to go overboard with it. And, you end up with a goose egg in DFS, or you play a bunch of Keaton Mitchell parlays and it bombs out. But I thought that was interesting. And then Khalil Herbert, I think Joe Burrow said he didn't like really have a grasp of the playbook, but he's also a good pass catcher. And if they're trailing, you could see Chase Brown is too, but you could see, like, they're like, all right, we're like, let's toss Khalil Herbert in there. Just have like, have him, either in pass pro chipping or just have him out there as like a little dump off option for Joe Burrow. So I think both guys, I agree with you, RJ, or I think what you're saying is they could be factors in this game. Okay. Anytime touchdowns. Oh, by the way, if you're watching on X, I think we're on X. If you're watching on X, if we're not on X, and you're not watching, then ignore this. But if you're watching on X, come join us in the YouTube chat. Actually, wait, I'm sorry. We're going to player props first. I'm all over the place because I showed up at 7:13. Danny, what you got on the player prop?
So not too dissimilar to what you were just talking about with Khalil Herbert. I actually like that game script for Chase Brown. I'm going to go with his over receiving yards at 23.5. Saw this line ticking up, so grab it at the lowest number you can find, shop around. But I think that Joe Burrow is going to have to look for him in the pass game. We saw last week 5 targets, 37 yards, and a receiving touchdown as well. Like you said, he's an explosive player. He can rip off chunk plays with screen passes, if he gets some space and some blockers in front of him. And I think they're going to have to utilize him. Orlando Brown out of this game, pressure from a Ravens front that, although the Ravens haven't gotten a great pressure rate, they are 5th in the league in sacks. So although they're not coming home, that often, when they do get through, they're getting there. So Burrow might have to get rid of that ball, and Chase Brown will be there. So yeah, I think they set some stuff up for him without T. Higgins in the game. I'm expecting him to get at least 4 targets, and I think he can get over this number. So yeah, give me his over receiving yards. Sort of a system play I have going. Injured offensive line, short week, running back receiving yards. That's the logic for me.
RJ, how about yourself?
Yeah, I'm looking at Lamar Jackson's over rushing yards. We got it at over 45.5 at BetMGM. He had 3 carries for 4 yards last week, but 40-plus rushing yards in every other game this season. He's gone over 50 rushing yards in 18 of 25 primetime games in the regular season in his career. So this is the type of spot where he likes to run. Also, this is the type of opponent he likes to run against. 6 straight Bengals games where he's had 50-plus rushing yards. And that Bengals defense is allowing the most rushing yards in the league to quarterbacks going into this week. So it seems like everything's lining up for Lamar Jackson to get to 50 rushing yards. So I've made over 45.5 a play. I would play it up to 49.5.
I dig it. I found these.
You're getting roasted in the chat.
I'm getting roasted in the chat. Yes, correct. Yes, that's what I was going to bring up. Brinson is always all over the place. Yeah, that's sort of my thing. I have a squirrel brain, and I don't mean like a tiny squirrel brain. It's just if I see a squirrel, I'm like going in a wildly different direction. Is Brinson legally required to wear horizontal striped shirts? Not legally, but I decided, I guess, during the pandemic, that I'm just going to dress as if I just played golf, could play golf, or might be going to play golf at all times. You can find me in joggers and horizontal striped polos pretty much 99% of the time. If not, I'm wearing like stretch khakis that I can play golf in. And the other one was
this is my
Brinson.
favorite.
Brinson always looks like he had a wild night at the frat house. I love it. It's not wrong. not for my entire, not last night. It was a Wednesday. It's calm Wednesday. But in generally speaking, not an erroneous statement. Yep, missed the stream. Tried a glass of, yeah. I mean, we're streaming on Sunday nights, and we have a cocktail on Sunday nights after the things. Tonight we're just drinking ice water, as far as you know. I'm just kidding. All right, my player prop. Yes, that's why it has a koozie around it. My player prop is pretty easy. It's just Jamar Chase to score a touchdown. Now, RJ, you poo-pooed it on the earlier Thursday show, and I get it. Without T. Higgins, maybe Jamar Chase is just, some average receiver. I don't think so. I think it's a primetime game against a divisional opponent. In 7 games against the Ravens, he has 5 touchdowns. He's going to show up here. It's a massive game for the Bengals. Jamar Chase is going to have a big game, and I think he's going to find the end zone. And I love putting this in parlays across the board, all my stupid little FanDuel parlays. I mean, it's not a lock, but at minus 125, I think it's a pretty decent price. Go ahead, RJ, poop all over it.
No, I mean, I think he's tied for the league lead in receiving touchdowns. So
yeah.
He's a guy that can get there. Didn't have one last week, but had one the previous 2 weeks. My question is, if it's such a lock, why is it only minus 125? You figured it would be a lot higher. So I don't know. It seems like a case where it might be a little bit 50-50. You got to like the fact that it's a high total and they're big underdogs. So they should be throwing in the second half to get you there. So yeah, I didn't poo-poo this specific bet. I'm just saying it's easier to defend him when T. Higgins is not on the field. That's my only point.
I'm not posting Jeff Stenberg's comment. That's rude and insulting. By the way, also minus 110 at Bet365 if you want to go put it there. I look like Adam Sandler from Wish. This is ridiculous.
He is averaging both those last 2 games. He's 6.0 yards per reception against the Eagles, 6.1 yards per reception against the Raiders. Not really being able to go downfield in this offense without Higgins.
Fair enough. Kens, what do we have from a player prop perspective for the model? Lamar.
We are going double Lamar here. Now, basically the same analysis for both here. Like him to go over his passing yards, like him to go over his passing touchdown prop as well. I'd say if I had to pick one, I definitely like the yards better. Again, I talked about the injuries and how it seems like, especially last week, there's not a ton of designed runs from him based off what we saw. And he seems to be pretty comfortable in the pocket given that as well. Tons of injuries for the Bengals defense. And I just think this is a team that's finding their stride through the air. Don't necessarily need to rely on him on the ground. Could be both. But based off the 378 passing yards against this team the first time around, I do think it's certainly possible to get over 236.5. This line's been steaming a ton. 236 actually on the lower end. BetMGM giving you a pretty nice price there. A lot of books up to almost 240. So I'd say act now, and obviously anything's act now at this point because we have about 25 minutes before these probably get locked in. But again, same with the passing touchdowns. I think the floor here is 2 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. If you just look at the floor of what odds are implying how many touchdowns are going to score. And again, less design runs for me. I like that Mark Andrews will be a pretty solid target with no Isaiah Likely. So I think we can get what I'm on right now. I'm on points. I'm on yards through the air. I'm on passing touchdowns.
All right. Let's get to some questions from the chat. Sean Ritchie asks, what do we think about laddering Burrow's pass yards? So you're probably going to max out on the ladder there at 350. But the key thing here, and I just said this to I don't know if you can get it up. I'm giving him like 30 seconds to do it. So I'll filibuster for a bit. But Kens, I think we can all agree that when you ladder Joe Burrow, or you do anything involving Joe Burrow, you can't do it until you look what his pregame outfit is. And I'm not gonna lie, it is like he's wearing horizontal stripes. Like, what am I going to criticize the guy? No criticism at all. It's just this is not the black suit Joe Burrow, but I see very few blonde hairs there, and that's important.
That is important. I do think there's direct correlation to your frosted tip ratio to normal hair. Yes. You can just ask Jackson Dart about that one. He's growing his out. Things seem to be going a little bit better for him. So maybe this is good for Joe Burrow as well. This is like a quietly humble but still flex outfit. Like that looks like a sweater you could probably get at Goodwill. However, it's probably upwards of
$750. Yeah. It's like
several like that's the vibes he's giving. Yeah. I think he knows that he didn't want to walk in here flashy.
Do you think that Joe Burrow is wearing an undershirt with that sweater, or is the sweater so expensive and comfortable that he doesn't need to wear an undershirt with it? Sorry, Danny, I had you covered.
Definitely doesn't need to wear an undershirt under that. I think it probably is like maybe radiated and like massaging him at the same time, and like good pregame, something's going on.
Those khakis are a little baggy for my liking.
That's a little like 90s now. I wasn't around, but
he looks a little bit like, it's like a crisscross look.
I was gonna say this is like 80s ski lodge vibes.
Yeah. I see. That's the thing with Burrow. Like
a little opera ski.
We might need to take Burrow up to 500 passing yards with this outfit, honestly. I had a tangent. I was gonna, I'm not gonna ask it. It was gonna be about this new style of jeans that the ladies are wearing, which it's like baggy jeans is like it now. It's crazy. I didn't ask it, so we'll go next to the next prop. Okay, thank you, Nada, for tossing that up. What do y'all think about Deontay? A lot of Deontay Johnson questions. Over 1.5 receptions, 6 of 6 his last 6 home games. Yeah, I mean he did. Oh yeah, I guess you were looking at him with the Steelers. I guess this is kind of like a sneaky revenge game for Deontay Johnson. Like reverse revenge game. He hates the Bengals because he played for the Steelers. I don't know. RJ, does that qualify?
No, not for a revenge angle. I mean, if they were playing the Steelers,
the Steelers, right? Obviously, yes.
But he just is a team that he knows well. That knows him well. I haven't looked at his numbers against the Bengals, but they say he's hit this line 5 of 5 times. Obviously, he was a bigger part of the offense at that time. So your question will have to be, how much is Lamar throwing? If you agree with the model play, Lamar's going to throw a ton. Deontay probably gets there. 4 is a little aggressive. It's the second game, but he's only had a few days extra of practice, and he was used more as a decoy. I would be more interested in touchdown props for him than I would overs on receptions, because I do remember, I think the first time we saw him last week, it was down near the goal line. They didn't go to him. He was just isolated up on the top, and then I believe they ran it to the right just to put some space out. But they put that on tape for a reason, and he's going to get some one-on-one looks, I think, at the goal line. So if he has 2 targets and 1 catch in this game, it might actually be a touchdown. So if I'm playing anything with him, it's probably touchdown related.
One of the guys on our coding crew team, Jake Fettner, who helps a ton with all of our stuff, a lot of NFL and college football. We were talking about him earlier. He's on his longest reception, over 12.5 yards. We haven't projected for 2 receptions and 33 yards, so a little over 15 yards of reception. That could be a good look. Maybe can you buy that down? ? But longest reception could be a good look too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to I don't think they traded for Deontay Johnson with the idea that they were just going to pull Rashad Bateman off the field, because Rashad Bateman's having a really good year. To me, Deontay Johnson is more like sort of insurance and depth at the wide receiver position, so they don't get super thin and have to play Nelson Aguilar 500 snaps in the playoff game. But yeah, I mean, like it's a low number, 17.5. And, I think it was Jeff Stenberg pointed out, 4 catches for Deontay Johnson is plus 750, which is not a horrible look, I suppose. Over 43.5, Zay 50 plus receiving yards, Deontay over 18.5 plus 252. Like a
little too. It's hard to believe it's all happening,
Yeah, like I feel like that should be like 4-1 maybe. Okay, next up, don't tell me there's a squirrel. Keaton Mitchell, anytime touchdown plus 310. I like it.
Not mad at it. If your insiders got anything, any accuracy to that. Also, I mean, we saw Nick Chubb come back so unexpectedly soon with health that, we couldn't have imagined after such a gruesome injury. So these guys are pretty incredible. Their bodies heal at superhuman rates. Maybe Keaton Mitchell's good to go. Maybe the Ravens are up big and they test out, how fresh he is and he's looking good. Maybe he's, his rushing yards total is 13.5. Again, it's all speculation because, like you said, Brinson, could be a goose egg and we look like fools. But if you want to buy the speculation, anytime or rush yards, I mean, those are very plausible.
If it's a blowout too, and the Ravens are up big and they get down near the goal line, I wouldn't be stunned if they gave Keaton Mitchell a touchdown, or gave him some carries by the goal line. Just like, let's get this kid in the end zone. I think they really like him. So not a crazy look. Probably should have saved that for anytime touchdowns, but whatever. Chase Brown, 25 plus receiving yards. Yeah, Danny covered it. He likes it.
Yeah, that's
Keaton Mitchell over 13.5. Yeah, I mean, like 1 carry, he could get there. Why
Arjun, I'll bet that with you. I'm riding with you on that one.
Yeah. How is Zay Flowers' receiving yards so low? Maybe it's a Derrick Henry game.
I don't know.
Lamar over 40, Henry over 80, Andrews and Gesicki over 40, and Burrow over 1.5 pass touchdowns is 10-1 easy money. If it was easy, we'd all be rich.
Hope for a shootout.
Yeah.
I think those results happened last game. So if you look for the same result, then you might get that.
I'm not disagreeing with RJ's prop pick here at all. I just think there's a chance Lamar doesn't. Again, like you get a game script where the Ravens are up the whole game. Lamar might not run a ton, and Andrews, the 40, then becomes a concern too, where Derrick Henry runs for 150. Bengals are throwing a ton. Just a thought. Burrow, 2 pass touchdowns. Chase, 80 yards. Jackson, 40. Again, same deal. Don't hate it, but you've got a bat. Like, if Burrow's going to throw a ton, you would think that it's either a really high scoring game. I don't know. There's just Danny and I took the under. Like, there's a chance that this is not the massive shootout that everyone's expecting it to be, and maybe there's some value on unders. Covered Dante. Burrow over 36.5 pass attempts, and both teams to kick a 33-yard field goal plus 120.
Gippers loves both teams to kick a field goal, a short field goal. Those can be interesting, especially if you like an under. You're expecting stands, right, and red zone stops. So I like those when he looks for those props in primetime games. Both teams to kick a 33-yarder.
I mean, given the Ravens' ability against the run, I think the Burrow pass attempt is a pretty good look. Henry over 18.5 longest rush.
This guy's been hitting 29 miles per hour, right? I mean, it's been crazy.
If you can get past that defensive line, I mean, who's tackling him?
And you're right. If BJ Hill is limited, he is gonna have a dance party. Lamar over 19.5 completions and Lamar over 29.5 pass attempts. Any thoughts on those?
Seems like something the model likes because we're projecting pretty high on Lamar.
Yeah, it's weird because it's more about the yards. It's more about the yards per reception. I mean, he's averaging in the past 5 games almost 12 yards per pass attempt. Like, I mean, he's passing the ball to the first down. So it's more about the yards per reception, yards per attempt, than the actual completions and attempts for me. So I think the yards, if you're going Lamar to have a big game through the air, the specific yards is probably the best play.
Henry over attempts 17.5. Henry, TD, and Jackson 30+ rush yards plus 180. I mean, I don't hate any of them, but you're still like plus 180. Like you need 3. If I'm betting on 3 things to happen, I want more than 2-1. Even though those are reduced, obviously. Andrews over 3.5 receptions.
I think that comes in.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
And then last one, Charlie Kohler over 13.5 receiving yards, 3 catches, 4 targets for 64 against Cincy last time. No likely. Yeah, I mean,
I like it.
I mean, spoiler alert, we might have some Charlie Kohler action in a minute. Okay, let's get to the models. Anytime touchdown score. Excuse me. Oh, hey, there it is. Spoiler, Charlie Kohler.
There he is. There's our guy. And this is, I mean, if you can take both tight ends here, I think there's a pretty solid chance they both get in the end zone, but you'd still profit regardless here. So obviously we like Mark Andrews. I mean, without Isaiah Likely being here, I think there's a great chance you get both. He didn't score one last game, but he did have 4 touchdowns in the previous 3 games. So that's Andrews we're talking about here. Now, Kohler I like a lot because recently it's been the wide receivers who are dominating with Zay Flowers. But I feel like it's time. It's time to get him back in there. I love my tight ends in the end zone here. And again, sound like a broken record, but just not a lot of design runs for Lamar that we saw last week. So I feel like that can take into account in the end zone and the red zone as well. So more opportunity for any receiver for Baltimore here. Chase Brown, I'm just stunned that in some books you can even get this at even money. From at least 20 minutes ago, you could. So I definitely shop around for this. But the reason this is so valuable to me is because he's not only a rushing threat, but a receiving threat too. And that's huge. And we talked about how, Zach Moss out, Khalil Herbert, I feel like maybe could be used, but maybe not as much just considering he just got there. Like we were talking about, doesn't know all the schemes, pass protection, all those things yet. So I just feel like a very heavy Chase Brown game. I know Danny's high on him as well. So I know it's, it looks expensive, but relative to where we think it should be at -200, it's still a pretty good deal.
Yep, for sure. One more player prop I'll throw out there. This is a good, and I'm reluctant to do this because his avatar is Peter Griffin, Jeff. But I don't look like Peter Griffin on a Zipic. Ridiculous. Jermaine Burton, 60+ yards is 12-1 on DK. And the only reason I bring this up is that last week, the Bengals reportedly / allegedly / whatever had a game plan built around Jermaine Burton. Then he decided to turn into a b-head halfway through the week and was like not showing up to meetings. He's inactive. I think there's somebody like tweeted out a picture of him like playing slots or something like that. Ridiculous. That game plan's still built out. And he's there, and they don't have T. Higgins, and they used a high pick on him. So it's possible he made amends on a short week, and they roll out that game plan, and Jermaine Burton is kind of a focal point, ends up catching a ton of passes. 12-1 for 60 receiving yards for a guy of his skill set and his draft capital. That is not a bad bet at all. So good look from John there. You know what? We have all. Oh, wait, I have a parlay to give out. Sorry. My parlay. Lamar Jackson, this is only 6-1. This is low for me. Lamar Jackson, 200 passing yards. Mike Gesicki, 25 receiving yards. Jamar Chase, 50 receiving yards. Derrick Henry, 75 rushing yards. Jamar Chase over 6.5 receptions, which is just the over-under. Zay Flowers, 50 receiving yards. And Chase Brown, 50 rushing yards. Chase Brown's really the only thing I'm worried about there, honestly. 6-1. Not terrible. Those are all alt totals, obviously. Lamar could go under, but I think he cruises past 200. So
and you like the under, so that's a lot of yeses, a lot of offense. And
no, but it's all like those are all -250, low numbers. You know what I mean? 25 receiving yards is nothing. If Mike Gesicki ends up with under 25 receiving yards and this goes 6-7, I'm not gonna flambe anything, but I'll
don't try to deny who you are, Brinson. We're over bettors. Okay.
I mean, but these are all alts, Yeah, I'm an over better. I'm as square as they come. I like overs and I like favorites. I used to have a column on Fan House when RJ and I worked there together called Road Chalk and Lead Pipe Locks. So all chalky. Anyway. We've all had our first touchdown bet called back before, and BetMGM is giving you a second chance. With BetMGM's Pro Football Second Chance, place any first touchdown score bet. If your player doesn't score first but scores second, get your entire stake back in cash. No opt-in required. Here's how it works. Place a pregame, straight first touchdown score bet in any NFL game. If your player scores the first touchdown of the game, win your wager as normal. If your player scores the second touchdown of the game, you'll get your stake back in cash. It's that simple. Log into BetMGM for more details. And Danny, I would point out, you noted that you've gotten paid back 3 times on this.
I've gotten so many second touchdown scores. It's been amusing, honestly, especially when a chalky guy hits first, the Henry scores and then Andrew scores, or then the 10-1, long shot scores. But hey, good thing we got that BetMGM promo.
That's right. Nice little insurance from show sponsor BetMGM. Let's get to our first touchdown picks. Oh, look at that. Oh. Sweet, sexy diamond above my name. Finally. Took freaking 9 weeks to get there, but we got there. I want to make it 2, but I'm a little worried that RJ has the best pick on the board.
Wait, sorry to interrupt. Brinson, who was it that you had last week?
Rashad White.
Nice. That was, what was it? 10-1?
Yeah, 11-1. I think it was 11-1. Yeah.
Couldn't be Danny Brasco.
Couldn't be me here either. But RJ, I think you have the best pick on the board, honestly. Touchdown scoring machine. Lamar's red zone target.
Yeah, it's an obvious pick, but when you get these Baltimore games where Derrick Henry is so low that you can even Zay Flowers at 10-1 if you want to take him too. I like Mark Andrews touchdowns in 3 straight games prior to the Denver win last week, and only one team has allowed more touchdowns to tight ends than Cincinnati, and that's Carolina has allowed 7, and since he's tied for second with 5. So this is a weakness of their defense, allowing tight ends to catch touchdowns close to the goal line. And we know how much Lamar loves throwing it to Mark Andrews, and no Isaiah likely to steal one of those that early touchdown from Andrews. Like it even more.
He's going to steal? my boy Charlie.
Well, actually, Ken's per the rules, I have to go second. Like, I don't want to go second, but I have to go second. I got chastised by Sia for not. You got to go diamonds apparently first, which means Danny
high and mighty with the diamond. All of a sudden, look at that, Ken.
It feels good. It feels good.
Now he knows the diamond rules. Now that he has one,
I'll remember this. Brinson. I'll remember this.
Probably chastised me too. He's like, I told you that specifically, but I'm like, what? Like over like when did you tell me that?
We talked about this.
I'll actually probably flip most of this to Danny, but because we're on the same guy, Keaton Mitchell at 30-1. I'm telling you, man, this guy is a home run hitter, and I there's just something about that report from Rap Sheet that made it seem like the Ravens want to get him involved early and want to use him. And they know that they can, like Derrick Henry can flip the game, of course. But I mean, you know, Keaton Mitchell, every time he touches the ball, and I don't know how many snaps he'll get. I don't know how many touches he'll get, but every time he touches the ball, he's a threat to score. 30-1 is a lovely number for me. I like it. Danny, you like it as well.
I'm buying it, man. I'm buying the hype. Maybe they look to get him active early. We're hoping, obviously, 30-1. It's a long shot, but hopefully they run a nice little early drive and they say, "Hey, man, let's shake off the rust. Let's get you in the end zone." Henry's done it how many times, right? It's been too easy for him. So, like you said, they're looking to lighten the load a little bit. Harbaugh said, "I don't want him to be the 30 carry per game guy. Give it to Keaton Mitchell and see if he's back." Man, they'll be even more dynamic with Henry, Mitchell, and Lamar than they were with Hill and you know the running Gus Edwards and the trios they've had before. That'll be dynamic. So yeah, I hope he gets involved early.
And obviously my litmus test for Thursday night games. You put a 2-back set out there, right? In shotgun or like some sort of like, you know, diamond setup with Lamar, Henry, and Keaton Mitchell. You fake the handoff to Henry, you drop back a little, everyone's flooding to Henry's side. Keaton goes the other way, a little dump off, and all of a sudden you hear Al Michaels go, "Keaton Mitchell!" And then you hear Kirk Herbstreit talk about it. He's like, "I tell you how this guy from I'm doing Collinsworth there, but you get the point." You know, it's like this guy from ECU is great in college, and now all of a sudden he's out here. He just adds another dynamic, like asset to this Ravens offense. So
I like the visual audio visualization of the name, hearing Al Michaels call it. I started doing that, to be honest. I'm actually mad at you because now it infiltrates my mind and I hear him trying to call it when I'm picking these.
Mark Andrews. Oh, I'll tell you what you can hear him say, Kens. Charlie Kohler. I mean, you can hear him saying that when everybody's keying in on Zay Flowers and Derrick Henry and Mark Andrews, and Charlie Kohler just floats out to the corner of the end zone for that first touchdown.
I've watched this guy like ruin other props for me so much this season that I've just decided to be on his side tonight. And I feel like we aren't like, this is pretty good value knowing Isaiah Likely's not playing. Like to get 33-1 versus 10-1 for Mark Andrews, knowing that he's a good enough run blocker that he's literally often started games because of it, makes me feel like we could get here. And one of his best games of the season was against Cincinnati. He had 64 yards and a touchdown. So who's to say it's not the first one? So give me back on my tight end journey for my gem. I think this is the one.
I appreciate being roasted in this chat like all night. This is fantastic. I love getting roasted in an active chat. I talk a lot during golf. It's pretty brutal. I wouldn't want to be sitting in my cart if I were you. All right. Let's recap our bets and get out of here. I am on the under 53. Jamar Chase anytime touchdown and Keaton Mitchell first touchdown. Danny is also on the under 53. Chase Brown over receiving yards and Keaton Mitchell first touchdown. As my boy Adam Shine likes to say, we're sharing a brain, Danny. RJ on the Ravens. Lamar Jackson over 45.5 rushing yards and Mark Andrews first touchdown. And Kens has Lamar over passing yards, Lamar over passing touchdowns, and Charlie Kohler first touchdown. I'm not going to root for RJ and Kens, but actually, no, I'm not going to root for y'all. Like I got to root for Danny to get a diamond, and then 2 diamonds. I'll be insufferable if I have the most diamonds on the panel every week. I can see RJ thinking about it right now.
I'm almost willing to sacrifice the loss so that doesn't happen.
Thank you, Danny.
I don't blame you.
Take one for the rest of us.
All right, let's cash some bets. Let's see some diamond hands. Let's everybody just posted tickets, winning money every which way for Kens, for Danny, for RJ, I'm Brinson. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you guys later.